you took the bomb.
See you later.
Fun fact, the only reason why PawsYourGame even exists is because someone I met on a video game saved my life, and a rescue dog gave me an actual reason to stick around for it. So what's PawsYourGame? Well, let me take you back to 2013. My grandmother had just passed away, and she wasn't just family, she was one of the good ones. The kind of human that gives you unconditional love even when you're being an absolute. Losing her didn't completely break me, but it knocked the joy out of the room for a while. I wasn't spiraling yet, but I was definitely sad, numb, floating through my days like a background NPC. Somewhere in that slow emotional freefall, a friend, probably sick of watching me vibe with the void, sent me a rescue post. A miniature schnauzer named Sophie. She looked like she'd been through some and wasn't going to judge you for yours. Like a Fallout companion you stumble upon by accident, and then she becomes the entire reason you finish the whole game. I didn't hesitate in contacting the rescue for a meet and greet. We met, she sniffed me, decided I wasn't a total lost cause, and that was that. Instant co-op partners. Life started to feel less stupid. For a few years, I had the illusion of stability. Sophie, decent business, loving partner. I'd almost convinced myself I was functional. And then one morning, I woke up in pain so bad I thought I was dying. And it turns out I kinda was. My appendix decided to yeet itself out of existence. I had emergency surgery, the recovery was awful, my brain chemistry went full-blown clown mode, and depression slithered back in, but this time it brought friends with it. I stopped eating, I lost weight, pushed people away, friends, partner, family. My business went downhill faster than a League player's MMR after a losing streak. But Sophie, she stayed, constant, my stability, the only living thing that didn't make me feel like a complete disappointment. And then, because life is like a roguelike with no save points, Sophie got sick. Not, we'll get through this sick. I'm talking about a rare autoimmune blood disorder where her white blood cells turned on her like a bad Among Us round. Her organs started to fail, her body was shutting down, and one morning she looked at me like, hey, I'm done. You don't have to keep me here for you. So I did the thing. The one thing you never want to do. I held her, I told her she was the best decision I ever made, and I let her go. And that's when I cracked. I stopped pretending, stopped functioning, stopped wanting to exist, and in a perfect storm of grief, guilt, and hopelessness, I made a plan. I figured the best way to say sorry for failing, for losing everything, for existing, was to not exist anymore myself. I texted goodbye to a buddy I had met on World of Warcraft because I wanted someone to know, even if it was a battleground buddy from 2006. He knew. He called my family and they found me. The next thing I know, I'm getting the you're either going to a psych ward facility voluntarily or we'll helicopter you in there like it's a Call of Duty extraction talk. I called up another gamer friend who had been through his own battles, and he hit me with one message that stuck with me. Sophie wouldn't want you to give up. She'd want you to save more dogs like her. So I chose door number 1. I spent 12 days in a psych ward learning how to not kill myself again, and then 2 months in a treatment facility learning how to live, finding purpose, if you will. Day 1 at the treatment center, I walked into the main group therapy room, and on the wall, I see an urn. I walk over, and there's a photo of an Australian Shepherd with a plaque underneath that read, "In loving memory of Sophie." And no, it wasn't exposure therapy. I made a pretty big scene about it when I saw it, because what the f*** are the odds that the one treatment center in all of the United States had a therapy dog named Sophie that passed away who helped patients like mine did for me. It was like getting emotionally sniped by the universe. It didn't matter that it wasn't my Sophie, it was a Sophie, a dog who had helped people through their worst days, and now she was gone too. Like a weird cosmic callback, like the universe was saying, hey, remember why you're here, don't f this up. In treatment, stripped of, well, dopamine and distractions, I came back to the one world that ever made sense: gaming. Dungeons and Dragons, old school video games, late night talks with people just as broken as me. I told them about charities that use video games to raise funds for causes like children's hospitals and veterans, and I thought to myself, why weren't there any gaming charities for animal shelters? That's when it hit me. Not softly like, oh wow, this could be a neat idea. No, it hit me like democracy hits a helldiver. Boom, PawsYourGame was born. Here's the brutal reality I wasn't aware of until after Sophie passed away. Every year, millions of animals enter shelters across the United States, and a heartbreaking portion of them, they don't make it out alive. Especially in municipal shelters, the ones that have to take in every animal, even when they're out of space, out of staff, and out of options. They're overcrowded, underfunded, understaffed, and haunted by the label kill shelter. That label, it scares people away, let's be real. Dogs like Sophie, they don't get their second chance. When I adopted Sophie in 2013, she'd been pulled from a municipal shelter by a private rescue. If that rescue hadn't stepped in and paid for Sophie's medical care at the time, Sophie would have been another statistic. That same year, 2.7 million animals were euthanized in the United States alone, and not all of them needed to be. Let that sink in. No Sophie, no PawsYourGame. Just another missed connection under broken systems and overcrowded cages. But you know who understands what it feels like to be unwanted, dismissed, or thrown away? Gamers. Look, we're not exactly society's favorite group of people, but we stick around. We show up even when no one else does. We know what it's like to feel broken, ignored, or like you don't have a place. So when we do care, we show up with everything. There are 220 million gamers in the United States. If 5% of us volunteered, donated, or even advocated for local shelters, we could end shelter euthanasia. Not someday, now. And we already are, or at least making somewhat of an impact. Since launching PawsYourGame, the gaming community, the very one society loves to mock, has raised close to $100,000 for shelters and rescues in our partner network. We helped launch a mobile vet clinic, helped countless homeless strays, pets that wouldn't have had a chance at adoption otherwise. We kept hospice dogs comfortable in their final days. We helped spay and neuter pets that streamers rescued and assisted with medical emergency bills when our own community needed it the most. And Sophie? She made it into a video game. First Class Trouble. You could unlock her face as a Twitch drop. My dead dog became digital loot. Tell me gamers don't make magic out of grief. This isn't about saving animals, it's about remembering that no matter how broken, f***ed up, or villainized we feel, we're capable of doing something good, something real, something worth sticking around for. Gaming saved my life. Now it's time we use it to save theirs. For those without a voice. Are you ready to pause your game?
Hi everyone, welcome to the Pet Battle PvP Tournament World Finals. I'm Laria, your color commentator for today's match, and we've got a big one lined up. Two top pet taming competitors are going head-to-head in what's sure to be a close battle.
I'm Dragons After Dark, excited to be here once again for the final showdown of the season. On the North American side, we have Woxbc, known for his precise team building and strong tournament run.
And I'm Josh. I'm the founder of PawsYourGame. It's great to be a part of this event alongside Valor Gaming and the Pet PvP Battle Tournament. Tonight, we also welcome back the EU champion from last season, Tanixion, who's looking to defend his title.
And this is more than just a rematch. Both players have seen each other's strategies before, so it'll be really interesting to see what adjustments that they bring today. Remember, today's stream also supports Pause Your Game, so not only are you witnessing this epic battle that's about to happen, but you're also helping real-life pets find homes and healing. Pause Your Game's mission is to save sheltered animals from unnecessary euthanasia by harnessing the collective power of the gaming community. Through innovative campaigns and partnerships, they turn gaming into a force for good by supporting underfunded shelters and promoting animal welfare. Use !PYG in chat to donate.
Weekend, we raised $750 during the North American finals. Let's push that number even higher to help those animals in desperate need. Your generosity means so much. Thank you for your support. Now, Woxbc came in second last season, and he's been sharp all tournament long. But Tanixion has remained composed under pressure. His consistency is what makes him a tough opponent. Remember, the world champion of this match today receives a one-of-a-kind, custom-made trophy themed around the current World of Warcraft War Within season. Season 2's trophy features the G99 Breakneck and Undermined with mechanical gorilla and dino pets. Plus, all competitors earn an exclusive, custom-made enamel pin featuring this season's artwork. What's more is these pins cannot be obtained any other way.
And while we're here for the competition, we're also raising awareness for a great cause and giving away some unique prizes to our viewers today throughout the stream. Let's kick this off with one of those prizes right now. Use !ticket in chat to win a cute cat plushie generously donated by Hero at Be Chaotic Goods. You can find their store on Etsy.
While we gather those tickets, let's go over how the matches work. First up will be their roster building. Before the match, both players select 12 pets to form their initial pool. At the start of the pre-match phase, these selections are revealed simultaneously on pet-draft.com. After reviewing each other's rosters, players choose 3 additional pets to adapt to any unexpected threats. Each player now has a pool of 15 pets to draft from. Players then take turns banning and picking pets from their opponents and their own pool following a set turn order. This strategic phase builds each player's final team of 3 pets. Players choose pet abilities and meet up at the battle location, and then they will battle in a best-of-7 format today for the finals. After each match, the full 15 pet pool resets and the pick-ban phase is repeated for the next round using Pet-Draft's Play Another Round feature. This is the Pet Battle PvP Tournament World Finals. Thank you for joining us now, and let's get to know today's competitors. First up, we have Tanixion. Tanixion had a really strong showing before in the EU finals. Their favorite pet is Jingles, and their nemesis pet is the Stormborn Whelp. This is mostly because the Stormborn Whelp has that really strong Call Lightning ability that could probably kill Jingles in almost one hit or even one hit because Jingles' health pool is really low. And then we also have Woxbc, who was the NA finals winner, and their most used pet is Cobbleshell, with the nemesis pet being the Violent Poultrid, because the Violent Poultrid does have that bleed and maul ability on the same ability set that they can use, and that could eat through just about any critter that it comes across. Woxbc's player info is that they still maintain and feed their Neopets, which is a really... that's dedication. And don't forget, the giveaway is ending soon, so get those entries in. And we have our petdraft.com screen up to show the picks and bans for the first matchup. I believe we have... Okay, it's going to be Tanixion on the left and Woxbc on the right. We do see a lot of pets that we had from the first go around. So we do see Jingles on both sides. We see the Kiraji Guardling on both sides. And let's see, the Lime Robo Clucker. So we've got a lot of returning pets today.
I also noticed that both competitors chose some of the same pets. And as somebody who doesn't normally pet battle probably as much as both of these competitors, I'm curious to see what pets they'll choose and how they'll go up against each other.
So what'll be interesting is if they choose some of the same pets and for a match, what happens is that especially pets like Jingles or the Violent Poultrid, those pets only really have one breed, or even the Teardrop Moth. So what's going to happen is that they'll have a speed tie, and it's a sort of coin flip to see who gets to go first. And sometimes that means that one Jingles can defeat the other, or the other way around. It comes completely down to luck at that point if they have the same pet facing each other and they're the same breed. And now sorry, go ahead.
Oh, do you find that based on the patches that happen in the game as patches are released, do you find that the go-to pets kind of are there's a little bit of a shakeup every time that the new pets are introduced?
Sometimes it depends on the ability. Right now, in the general PvP scene, we have a really strong weather meta right now with Sandstorm and Call Darkness, which is why each person is only allowed to have that ability once for each match. So you can only have one Call Darkness or one Sandstorm. So if we see a really strong pet, kind of like what we got with the Umbral Amalgam with the initial expansion release, that one came with Call Darkness, and the Umbral Amalgam can get pretty fast and pretty powerful. So that one can shake up. So that's one of the newer pets that we're seeing in the roster here. Most of the others are going to be from Dragonflight and back. We do have another pet, Mr. Delver. That one is one of the new ones as well. And the Lime Robo Clucker. So I think the Lime Robo Clucker has made a really strong showing this time around, and that one came from Undermine. So it does happen sometimes.
I love a lot of these names that we're seeing, by the way. A lot of these pet names. I think personally, I mean, you obviously want to pick the strongest, pets for a pet battle. I would be so tempted to just pick the pets based on the names.
You do actually see that a lot in the general PvP queue. You'll see people who have themed teams and their pets all kind of have similar names. I've seen teams that were obviously chosen because the pets looked cute or they were newer. So you do come across a lot of different teams in the queue, just sort of with that theme. Probably some of my favorite ones are when you come across the classic teams and you've got a whole team of new pets, and someone just really knows how to use that older team and they wipe the floor with you. So sometimes it just comes down to luck.
And do you find that often the pets that you see in PvP pet battles, are they usually pets that are awarded through achievements or dropped from the raid, etc.? Or are they mostly pets that you would go out into the wild, into a zone, into, either the zone Undermine or elsewhere in the War Within?
So it's kind of a mix. Like what we're seeing here is we have quite a few wild pets. So I believe Cobbleshell is a wild pet. So is the Kiraji Guardling and the Umbral Amalgam and the Lime Robo Clucker. So you actually see sometimes a decent amount of wild battle pets. The biggest issue comes in is when you're doing things, when you're PvP focused or you're focused on making PvE strategies. What you're going to have is you're going to have people who, instead of hunting for the rare quality pets, you're looking for the pet breeds. So for PvP, it's important to have pets that are super fast. And that's what we see with Jingles, who isn't a wild pet, but it's one of the speediest pets that we've had come along with the Winter Veil. And usually, like the Karaji Guardling, wild pet, you're generally going to see that in the speed breed today. So that's kind of what the PvE and PvP players are hunting for, are those speedier breeds.
And I was about to ask that too, because when I first started getting into pet battling, which I mean, I think what are we looking at? Like Miss Pandaria or Warlords of Draenor, I think, when they overhauled that. Can you talk a little bit more about breeds? Because I remember when I first started looking into it, when you go out in the wild, my understanding is that it's based on, like you said, the pet battle speed. Is it mostly stats? How would you describe breed to somebody who is just getting into pet battling?
So it is stat based. What happens is each pet comes with a base set of stats, generally with their pet type. So like you'll have all snakes will have a base set of stats, but then depending on the breed, it will stack stats into a specific stat. So if it's a speed breed or if it's a pure speed breed, all of those points that they get with each level will be stacked toward their speed. Unfortunately, you do need an add-on in the game to be able to see the breeds of the pets. So it's not something someone who's just getting into pet battles would be able to tell based off of just looking at the pet even in battle, because you also can't see their stats, I believe, except their health until you capture them without an add-on.
That's a really good point that you mentioned, that, sometimes you might need an add-on when it comes to, really getting into pet battling. Maybe not somebody who is just getting into it, they're brand new, they're just exploring it for the first time, but is that something that if you were really wanting to get into PvP pet battling, are there certain add-ons that people generally want to use?
Absolutely. So you will need add-ons like battle pet breed stats, and you'll definitely need battle pet or pet battle cooldowns. That's a big one because you want to be able to see the other team's ability set, what their cooldowns are looking like. That way you can strategize around that. It's like, okay, Sandstorm's coming up next round. I want to use some kind of defensive ability, and that's why those add-ons are really crucial. We have quite a few of them that are basically quality of life add-ons for anyone who wants to do more than just collect or wants to start working on, say, those brawler achievements for the family brawler in the achievement section, which means you're using one particular family against all the teams you're coming across in the queue.
It's interesting because with World of Warcraft, especially recently, how they've been talking about kind of scaling back a little bit on add-ons in the game, and not something that's going to happen next week or even next month, but down the road, heading toward the next expansion, Midnight. I wonder if they would, you mentioned quality of life add-ons, add-ons that offer features and additions and things that help kind of make pet battling a little bit, you know, a little bit easier, it sounds like, or a little bit more enjoyable. And I wonder if this is an area where World of Warcraft might consider reaching out to some of those add-on developers and possibly even, adding more to the system that's already built in the game.
I think that would be a wonderful idea. There are quite a few of them, especially Rematch. The Rematch add on is probably the biggest battle pet add on that you could have. It has expanded search features. You can search or you can right click on a pet and find pets that have similar move sets. It's got expanded like pet card info. That'll tell you like all the particular breeds of a pet, I believe. I think that comes with the default Rematch. It lets you save teams. So if you find that you're cycling through the same world quests, all you do is you click on the tamer and then it'll prompt you to load the team for that particular tamer. So that's really a big one when you think about how many battles we have against tamers in the game, having something that'll save your teams saves you so much time. It's almost a necessity if you're going to be doing pet battles more than casually.
And that's a great point because I feel like every time I've ever tried to like really dedicate some time to pet battling and really get into it, I think something that holds me back personally is knowing which which pet battle types go, up well against another type. And I often end up, opening up a browser tab and I have, a chart open. And I wonder if something like that could be a little bit more baseline in the game to help players, even if it's, whether it's PvP or just, people are out on their own and maybe they're a collector, maybe they're not quite ready to jump into PvP battling, but maybe they're just, on this journey to collect as many pet battles in the wild as possible. Even something like that, or if you're looking to level up your pets or anything like that, I wonder if having some of those resources that are already kind of designed in the game, knowing that one pet battle type is better against another, um, if we just had that at our fingertips a little bit, I wonder how that would help shape pet battling in the game in general.
I think that would be lovely. That's one of the things that comes with the rematch add-on is it has an expanded search feature that allows you to search for pets that are strong versus like if you're looking for something that's strong versus a humanoid. And it's nice because it uses the icons of the pets. So if you start a battle, you see what the tamer has, you can say, I want a pet that's strong versus humanoids and flyers, and then rematch will populate a list of all the pets that have abilities that would be strong against humanoids and flyers. And then you can also do tough against. So that'll show you the family that would take less damage from abilities typical of those families.
Something else that I would love is a way to know in the game or maybe even through an add-on. I'm sure you would know more than maybe I do, but sometimes I find that I need a particular type of pet. And maybe I only have one of those. I feel like dragonkin, a lot of the dragonkin I have are very low level or they're not technically rare quality. And then I go, well, where's the best way to level this up or where can I find another one of these? And then, like I said, you end up opening up a new tab and trying to find a list of, all the other dragonkin that might be good for the pet battle that you're working on. And I wish that there was a way, or is there a way to know where to find specific types?
So, not particularly specific types, but you can open up and you can just have it populate with just dragonkin, and you can hover over the pet to see where that particular pet comes from. But it looks like Tanixion and Wox have finalized their teams. It looks like Tanixion's going with primarily flyers, and Wox is mixing it up with a flyer, a magic, and a mechanical pet. So this is going to be fun. These are all pets that I believe, except maybe I think we've seen the helpful Glimmer Flyer. We've seen it on a team, but I don't know that we've seen it in battle yet. But these are all pets that we have already seen come up in the finals for both NA and EU. So the Umbral Amalgam is coming out really strong, and that Lime Roboclucker, and especially the Teardrop Moth, which you can stagger defensive abilities like the Dodge with Dust Cloud, and then the Blind with Blinding Poison. And it looks like Tanixion's going more for a mostly offensive with the Violent Poltrid and Jingles, and then the helpful Glimmerfly might have a little of that defense with Evanescence and Flash.
I'm very excited to see this pet battle coming up, especially because these two players have gone up against each other before. So they have seen, I'm sure, some of the pets that they have selected today, maybe even in the past.
Oh, absolutely. So these are all pretty typical for this particular season. And it's, I believe last year they went up against each other in the World Finals, if I'm recalling correctly. I'd have to look at their player cards to remember 100%. But yes, I believe they have gone against each other before.
And this
And
battle is just about to begin.
yep, we're just waiting for them to pick their first pets. And first up, we have the Umbral Amalgam and Jingles. So Jingles is usually the speedier pet, but like I said, the Umbral Amalgam has really come out strong this time around. And Jingles' usual strategy is to lay down those booby trap presents so you can get damage on a pet swap in and then throw the Gift of Winter's Veil. And unfortunately, they're not faster, so they're not going to get that extra damage from pounce. But we'll have to see because darkness is up and unfortunately Jingles goes down. But that call darkness will give everyone a 10% reduction to their hit chance unless they are an elemental pet.
And does that also apply to the player who used that ability?
Yes, it does. So unless you're running an elemental pet on either side or a pet that has an accuracy buff, even though the Umbral Amalgam was the one to use Call Darkness, they do also have that reduction to their hit chance.
What I always find interesting about pet battling, you saw here that the helpful Glimmerfly just had a massive hit against the previous pet that we just saw, the magic on the right there. But something that is good to consider is that this is technically the second pet that came out, right? This helpful Glimmerfly that we've seen.
Yes, Jingles has unfortunately fainted, I think is what they're going with since Dragonflight is that they faint kind of like in Pokemon. And then unfortunately, the helpful Glimmerfly went against the Lime Roboclucker there, but it was the second pet. And you're going to see a lot more swapping around in PvP than you will in PvE. And the helpful Glimmerfly, tried to use that blind ability. Unfortunately, the Lime Roboclucker does have laser, which has a 200% hit chance and isn't impacted by the blinds. And unfortunately, the Lime Roboclucker has dropped the Violent Poltrid down below 50%. So now they are slower, but it looks like it's going to come down to the Teardrop Moth. And that is a win for Wox. I believe that is Tanixion's first loss of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I noticed that as soon as the mechanical pet came out, mechanical pets in general, I do know that when they are killed, they do have they res, basically. Is that correct?
Yes, they do. So they resurrect with, I believe, 20% of their original health amount. And sometimes you can still kill them in the same hit if you've got an ability that does 2-hit damage and you can take them out after they resurrect. But mechanical pets are used often because of that, because they have that resurrection ability. And the same goes for undead pets and their immortal round.
And that's an exciting ability to have, knowing that even if there's an ability that technically kills that mechanical pet, at least it will res with a little bit of health. But in this case, I think it just had way too much health compared to its opponent, and it just wasn't able to finish it off.
Yeah, so with the Lime Roboclucker, it's been particularly strong. We've seen it, it'll usually come out once, and then most oftentimes afterward, it'll get banned. And that's probably because you tend to use a lot of flying pets because they are speedier at the beginning because that's their racial. They have the 1.5 times their base speed at the beginning. So that's why they're faster until they drop below 50%. So if you've got a pet like the Lime Roboclucker who does strong damage to flying pets, that one can chew through flyers pretty quick if given the opportunity.
I wonder if that's why I often choose flying pets. And I think over the years, I just always kind of felt like they were a little bit stronger might not be the correct word, but I was always thinking that word was in my head for years now. You know, I need to choose a flying pet. And I wonder, you made a great point that maybe it's because it's faster. And so because it strikes usually before, I imagine, most of the pets that you're battling against, maybe that's what gave me the idea that they might be a little bit stronger.
It does feel stronger when you get to go first. And again, that's why they tend to hunt for those speedier breeds, so that even if you drop below that 50% health, you'll still be faster and you'll be hitting faster. And it looks like they are choosing their second set. I'm surprised to see that the Lime Robo Clucker hasn't been banned, and Tanixion already has that one lined up on their team. So they saw Wox use it and they said, I'm going to use this against you because you used it on me.
That's interesting. And will Wox be able to also use the RoboClucker if they would like to?
Yes, so it hasn't been banned, so they can also use the Lime Robo Clucker, usually in this type of pick ban system, which was created specifically for pet battles. And you can go to pet-draft.com and test this system out for yourself if you like. In this, what you're going to see is not so much equal pets. So just because Tanixion grabbed the Lime Robo Clucker, Wox might not want to grab the Lime Robo Clucker because, again, we'll have that speed tie going on. And so you're looking for a pet that's going to be able to counter the Lime Robo Clucker. And they might be able to do that. Wox has a couple of elemental pets with elemental abilities, or they've got Trunks, which has Avalanche. So to counter mechanical pets, which you're looking for, pets that have nice big elemental ability hits. But it looks like they've chosen the Lime Robo Clucker anyway, so we'll just have to see.
You mentioned some big abilities, and you know what I noticed earlier was that when Josh was speaking, I noticed some dogs in the background. So I'm wondering, do you think you would choose a dog pet if you were pet battling, or would you choose something else?
The irony is not lost on me. With raising funds for animals that have probably been abused in, fighting situations. Would I choose a dog? Perhaps, if I'm feeling in a, dark, humorous mood. But if that dog was really, really great, sure. I don't know anything about pet battles. I quit Warcraft back in Cataclysm, so this was all new to me, and I didn't realize how elaborate this is. Like, this seems like an entirely a game inside of a game itself. So it's not what I'm used to. I'm used to battlegrounds and arenas, not pet battles. So this is very new to me, and I'm learning a lot. The only other game that I've played that is anywhere remotely close to this is Pokemon. So I understand that.
I was about to say, I feel like there are a lot of similarities with Pokemon. I remember being a kid and playing on my, oh man, what was that Nintendo handheld? It's the one that flipped up. It was a square. Do either of you remember the DS? I think I remember playing Pokemon on that in the Game Boy Color. But yeah, no, I actually, that reminds me, when I started playing WoW in Cataclysm, well, I guess back then they were called minions, and the pet battle system hadn't even really been introduced in the game yet. But the pets in the game were really what drew me to it. I remember choosing Hunter at the time because you could tame different pets, and at the time, you had Shalazar Basin and all these different really cool zones in Cataclysm, and they were rare pets that you could get. And when I first started, and then people told me, oh, by the way, there are minions you can get. You can go around and click on them, you type /love, and you get an achievement. And I said, wait, you're telling me I can go around, click on all these pets that are wandering around the world, these adorable little level 1 pets, and /love them? So that, you mentioned Cataclysm, it reminds me of that. Pets have been in this game for so long, and now look at all of the different types that we have.
Yeah, there's I think I read there's over 1,800 of them now, which is like that alone. If you even have anywhere close to that number, awesome. Like that is commitment. But Yeah. I first started playing in, I'm gonna date me, 2006, I think. So when like WoW first came out, and you could collect pets, but you couldn't really battle them at all. So yeah, this is all very, very cool. And there's like different move sets that you can do. Like I'm watching the screen right now. So
Yeah, it
it's
looks like both
pretty.
teams have selected 3 pets now, so it looks like we might be heading back into our second round very soon.
Yes. So Wox did choose a Lime Robo Clucker, but they also got that Singing Sunflower, especially since Tanixion's got 2 mechanical pets. So that'll be a decent counter, but maybe if they choose Solar Beam, I'm not sure if they will. And then we've got the Bone Serpent. So that one's a pretty classic PvP pet. That one's been around for a while. And then we've got the Frost Wolf Ghost Pup. That one's I think we've had it on a couple of teams. I'm not sure we've seen it used a whole lot so far in this particular finals.
You know, I was hoping that we would see the singing sunflower. I love that pet. I love that it sings to the point where I considered adding it as, you know, on Twitch you can have channel point redeems. And then a lot of people, I learned that some people love the song and some people don't. I'm
Yeah,
kind of
it's one of those pets where people they either love it or they hate it. Mostly people in PvP aren't a huge fan because if you see a singing sunflower on a team and then you see a second pet with a similar move set, it usually means you're in for a really long fight. And if you don't have any aquatic abilities to counter that, it's going to be a really long time. I think the longest I've heard of was over 1,000 rounds. So it can go
wow.
on for I hope not today. Like we're really going for not having that today. So no 1,000 round teams. Maybe we should have a cap on the number of rounds for next season, like maybe no more than 100.
And it looks like the duel is going to start any second now, really. Both teams, like we said, they have picked all 3 pets. Their teams are set. They're just finalizing the last couple of seconds, it seems.
Yep, they are getting ready to initiate the duel. I'm really wondering how Tanixion is going to fare against Wox with that singing sunflower because it does have a couple of abilities that don't necessarily require something that'll take it out of the game for a couple of rounds. So Solar Beam has a required 2-round cooldown where the Singing Sunflower can't do anything. So we'll probably see something more like Lash, maybe Inspiring Song. And I imagine we might see early advantage there just because I don't know how effective Sunlight will be, but they might choose Sunlight anyway just because it'll get hits on both of the mechanical pets.
It looks like the duel has officially begun.
Yep, we're just waiting for them to select their first pets that are going to come out, and we have the Bone Serpent and the Lime Robo Clucker. So that Bone Serpent is probably going to be using its big hit ability with Call Darkness and an immediate swap out on Tanixion's part. They've decided to opt for Delver since it looks like the Bone Serpent, the Call Darkness wasn't going to be as useful against the Lime Robo Clucker, and the Call Darkness has a reduced healing amount. So they probably brought that one to counter the Singing Sunflower's healing ability, just in case that Sunlight is chosen. You don't want the Sunflower to get the additional healing from that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, and I could see why a pet that has some healing abilities would probably prolong a fight or a round.
Yes, absolutely. And so photosynthesis gets an extra heal when sunlight is up. And so, unfortunately, that means with a really big health pool because sunlight increases your pet's health pool. So, it'll be almost double what you see the pet have. And it already has over 1,700 health. So, you can imagine getting double healing stuff or a double
And
healing ability with that sunlight, that gigantic health pool. It can cause battles to go on for a really long time.
Wow, we just saw a massive hit from that Roboclucker onto the. It looks like they are switching. Walks had just spread out their Roboclucker, which is almost dead now.
Let's see. Yes, it is almost dead. I believe they swapped it in for the ghost or the Frostwolf Ghost Pup, and the Frostwolf Ghost Pup was hit with a crit on that Wing Buffet ability. And now, oh, yep, so the Singing Sunflower has chosen Sunlight. So now you can see where they went from 1709 health to 2563. And that's what we mean by having that sunlight and photosynthesis ability prolonging fights, because they can heal all the way up as long as sunlight stays up. They can get all the way to 2563 health, and then photosynthesis will generally keep them topped up if they can stay on the back line here.
Something I noticed about the Singing Sunflower was that even with about 25, oh, and it looks like the Ghost Pup is down, but because it's undead, it is rezzed?
Yep, so it'll res. They have an immortal round. It's a round that they can't be killed during, but their damage is reduced by somewhere between 20 and 30%, I believe. So even their bigger hit abilities might not necessarily get quite as big. And the Frostwolf Ghost Pup is officially down. So we have the Singing Sunflower back in. They have dropped back down to 1709 health because Tanixion used that Call Darkness ability.
Oh, and so does Call Darkness, does that combat the sunny day that the Sunflower had used?
So Call Darkness is going to combat any kind of healing ability. It reduces them by 50%. And so all it did was when they removed Sunlight, it dropped the Singing Sunflower all the way back down to their original health. But it also helps counter that healing ability so that they're not being able to heal for quite as much. But again, we've got Sunny Day back up. So I believe Tanixion is going to try and get Call Darkness back to help counter that healing. And
Something I noticed though, that the Bone Serpent, is that the only pet that has Call Darkness?
It
on this
is.
team?
Yes. So as part of the season's rules, I'm not sure about the rest of the season, but I believe so. You can only have one pet have Call Darkness or Sandstorm up. So you can have two pets that have Call Darkness, but only one of them could use it. Or you could have a pet with Sandstorm and Call Darkness, but you can only use one or the other. And it looks like that Lime Roboclucker has been taken out by the Bone Serpent's Bone Barrage. That's too many B words there in a row. And so it looks like it's going for a dot approach to probably help counter the Singing Sunflower's photosynthesis ability. That'll give it the heal.
Yeah, because if that pet dies, the one with Call Darkness, if that dies, they don't have anything to counter that sunny day, right? The Bone Serpent is the one that has that ability.
Yeah,
So as soon as that goes down, the Sunflower, is it correct that it could just heal?
They might be able to. That's kind of why Tanixion, I believe, is stacking dot abilities. So you've got the Bone Barrage, you've got the Death and Decay, just like a Death Knight. So that'll be 2 dots going up. And then you've got the Roboclucker, which has sort of a big hit ability. And then you've got Wing Buffet. But it looks like the Bone Serpent might be taking it out here. Oh, so close. The Singing Sunflower is down to 72 HP. And as long as the Lime Roboclucker doesn't miss here because of Call Darkness, then we will probably see Tanixion's first win of the day. Congrats to Tanixion.
That was such a close round, especially compared to the first one. I think adding that sunny day, the Sunflower, and the Call to Darkness, the abilities that combat, the healing abilities, basically things that kind of oppose each other, that made for a really interesting match.
Oh, absolutely. It was really great. The Singing Sunflower was going to be, taking that out was definitely going to be key for Tanixion there. And let's see, so taking that down, that's probably why Tanixion had all of those dots to help counter the photosynthesis and especially that called darkness. And let's see, a reminder that today's live stream is in support of an amazing cause, Pause Your Game. Pause Your Game was born from a rescue that went both ways. After losing his rescue dog, Sophie, the founder, who we have with us here today, Josh, hit rock bottom and tried to take his own life. But it was gamers, friends he met online, who stepped in and saved him. That moment sparked a mission. Now, Pause Your Game turns gaming into a force for good, rescuing shelter animals from unnecessary euthanasia. Through charity streams, tournaments, and campaigns, they unite the gaming community to fund life-saving rescues, support shelters, and give pets and the people who love them a second chance. Use exclamation PYG donate for that link to contribute to this amazing cause.
To thank our viewers today for their time and generosity, let's start another giveaway. Use exclamation mark ticket right now in chat. The prize was generously donated by Hero at BK Out of Goods on their Etsy store.
And that is such an adorable giveaway, by the way, and so incredibly generous. I think it's really exciting, especially when we have creators who, both, are donating something to cause, especially this good, but also, are creating things. It comes from the heart, when they are creating something that they love, and then also supporting a cause that they love as well.
Absolutely. And I always give props to people who can create stuff like this because I can't sew. I'm not creative like this. I couldn't even imagine the absolute monstrosities I would create if I tried to do anything like this. There's someone I follow on Twitter who makes these knitted plushies, like super elaborate, and they're gorgeous. So this one is equally adorable. I love that you can kind of pose it a little bit.
It kind of reminds me of something that, or at least this is what I would do. A lot of times you see, people in their gaming rooms, whether it's they have an office or it's in their living room or bedroom, wherever it might be, and you see that they have all their gamer things in the background. I would absolutely find such a special place to put this, maybe on a shelf. I'm a collector of Pepes in World of Warcraft. If anyone is familiar with Pepe, it is not a pet battle. That you can use in a pet battle. It's not a minion like that, but it's like a toy that you can summon while you're using the game. And I would definitely find a place like that on my shelf for this.
I have some Pepes. I have some Murlocs. I think the funniest one I've gotten is the Toddle. I believe we got that one in BFA. And that plushie is hilarious because it just looks like shocked in a horrified way, like it's seen some things, like perhaps it ran into Enzoth before we even ran into Enzoth in the game. So that one's probably the funniest looking one I have that hangs out on my shelf with all the other ones. But I do enjoy collecting plushies. I have been told though that probably no more shelves.
Oh,
it
I'm
might get out of hand.
Josh, do you have any? I know you said you started thinking Kata, but have you? Do you have any gamer shelves? Any nerdy things like that?
Oh, no. I really don't. I collect animals more than I collect, nerdy stuff. So, I guess if dog toys are nerdy, then yeah.
Dog toys count, absolutely.
And there you go. That's what I
noticed
collect.
the video that we were showing earlier before the first battle had begun. We were showing all the videos in the beginning, and you had one of your dogs on the bed, and there was a toy next to it, and I thought that was adorable. I love when animals either bring their favorite toy into their bed or they take a nap with it. It looks so relaxing, and it makes me feel like they are just happy and comfy.
Yeah, they are definitely more comfortable here than they have been anywhere else. Kiko and Canella, the dog, I can't see her, she's on the pillow behind me, but this little guy is her son, and they both came from a pretty terrible situation, an abusive situation. So when the rescue contacted me, I had no problem taking them both in. And so here they are now. So yeah. And then there's Charlie right there, wagging her tail. She's a pit bull Yorkie mix, believe it or not. And her mom was the pit bull. So if you want to figure that one out, by all means. Yeah. And then I don't know what these guys are. I believe they're Chihuahuas. So, but yeah, I know he looks like a little boxer. But anyway, these are my babies. This is who I collect for.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like the cat I rescued. Yeah, I guess it's been about 8 years now. I have no idea what he is exactly. I just call him a forest cat. He has this giant long fur, giant tufts of fur on his feet and his ears.
Yeah, we call that Grinch feet when they've got all the fur in their paw pads. Grinch
That's an
feet.
adorable
Cute.
phrase. And speaking of fur,
sorry, go ahead.
well, no, speaking of fur, I just noticed a Frostwolf ghost pup, which looks like it is Wox's team. They have both chosen a teardrop moth as well on both of their teams. Tanixion went with a lost quill, and Wox, like as I said, has chosen the Frostwolf ghost pup for this next round.
Yeah, that teardrop moth has been quite the nuisance this season for sure. So I'm wondering if maybe just for fun's sake, because some of the bans this season were more for just keeping the matches less stale because those pets tend to get used a lot. So I'm wondering if we're going to see the teardrop moth on the ban list next time, just so that people kind of have a chance to work or not have to work around its blind and dodge. But the lost quill, as someone pointed out in chat, is absolutely a devastator. If they can manage to get faster than those teardrop moths, it's definitely going to take it out with its magic abilities. And of course, it can put pets to sleep with that stay a while and listen, and you get a half blind, I believe, with spectral spine. Yep, the 50% chance for an ability to miss. And then it looks like congratulations are in order to the corgi who won the giveaway. Congratulations to the corgi. Speaking of dogs, right?
Yeah, something I just noticed that Wox went with the singing sunflower again, and we are waiting for Tanixion to choose their third pet. It makes me wonder if they will need to select a pet which has Call Darkness again to be able to combat that healing ability that the singing sunflower, I'm sure, is probably going to pick, similar to the last round that we just saw. But I also want to call attention to the amount of donations that we have received for Pause Your Game. We are currently up to $830 out of the $1,000 donation goal. So we're about $170 off the goal. That is incredible. We have gotten some donations, and actually I just saw that it was refreshed. We are actually up to $850. It is incredible the amount of people, the amount of money that has been donated to this cause. Thank you so much to everybody. It really is so incredible. I want to pass it off to Josh for just a moment. Just to talk maybe a little bit more about what he does day to day and how much this helps him.
Oh yeah. Communities like these are really the lifeline of Pause Your Game. We would not be in a position to save the animals that we're saving if it wasn't for all of you. People are like, they thank me all the time for building the nonprofit, but I am not I'm the spark. I am not the fire. As far as I'm concerned, y'all are literally like the reason why we're here. So we're able to save more animals and even help streamers that need it. So yeah, it's just as far as day to day goes, We're constantly talking to rescues in our network, trying to figure out what they need exactly, and then pairing them with either people in our community or just helping them out wherever we can with whatever. So doing events for them specifically, having our stream team do donations for them. So really events like this pet battle are essential for us and the rescues in our network. So I can't thank you all enough. Like, the fact that we reached $850 means that we can now pull a animal from a municipal shelter and save them from potentially being euthanized. So that's pretty amazing if you think about it.
That really is amazing. It just, I've been smiling as you've been talking about this the whole time, and to know that the pet battles, like the one that we're watching right now, this one just started. Again, this tournament, it's to kind of help the community, and raise awareness for the nonprofit that you've started. And in this battle here, it looks like there's a magic pet versus a flying pet, and I know that Dragons and I had talked a little bit earlier about flying pets and how they're often good to start with because of their speed. Dragons, can you talk a little bit more about why you might choose a flying pet to begin with?
You would absolutely choose it because of the speed, especially the teardrop moth. As someone pointed out, it can be an absolute pain in the butt in PvP because you do have that flying buff and you also have two defensive abilities. So you have that dodge with Dust Cloud, which means that if you're faster, unless you're going against another flying pet. Like we've got Teardrop Moth versus Teardrop Moth right now, which means they're going to be at speed ties until someone drops below that 50%. And then once they're both below 50%, they'll be speed tying again. But you have that blind and that dust cloud, which is why the Lime Robo Clucker has actually been a really good counter for the Teardrop Moth, because then you only have to deal with dust cloud because laser has the 200% hit chance. But it looks like we're bringing the Lost Quill back out now that the Teardrop Moth has used both of its defensives. I believe Tanixion's goal here is to get the Moth below its 50% health. And they switched out for the Singing Sunflower to eat that hit so that it wouldn't drop below 50%. So that's Wox trying to use some strategizing there.
That is big strategy right there.
Yeah, so Wox is not Wox. Tanixion's been doing usually swaps quite a bit more than some other battlers that I've seen, but like I said, you're going to see a lot of swapping around as one person uses their ability and then another person brings a pet out to try and hard counter that pet, and then you'll see someone who just leaves a pet in to die because that just makes more sense for that time. But mostly you want to keep those flying pets above 50% HP to keep the flying buff, which is why Wox likely has the Frostwolf Ghost Pup's team healing ability there, Haunting Song, just in case it drops even just a little below. That Haunting Song can bring it back up above 50% to keep it going and keep it faster.
That's a really great strategy. Going back to that sunflower, like you said, I think right now you can see that its health is at 2,500 total. The current health is 64%, right? Which is about 1,600 health. But that is the equivalent of the Umbral Amalgam, right? The pet that it's going up against. So even sitting at 67% health right now, that 67% matches its opponent, right? And so I think going back to what you said about it kind of, swapping out the pets and bringing it out to kind of take the brunt of one of the abilities makes sense. And it seems very strategic because you can just heal that back up over time, right? With the Sunny Day buff, is that correct?
Yeah, so with the photosynthesis, that's the heal ability. And then when you've got the Sunny Day up, it's got the bonus heal that happens. So it's a hot, so it'll tick once. And then with Sunny Day up, it'll tick twice, which is what can make them quite obnoxious, I think is the proper word to use for the Sunny Day sunlight photosynthesis strategy. But it looks like the Frostwolf Ghost Pup has been taken into its Immortal round. And unfortunately, the Teardrop Moth has officially dropped below its 50% health for Tanixion, but Wox's is still above 50%, which means that Wox has the speed advantage here with the Moth. So Wox is kind of sort of playing a kind of long game here with the Moth, hoping to keep it above 50% between the Singing Sunflower and the Team Heal with the Frostwolf Ghost Pup. So even though Tanixion still has all three of their pets, all of their health is pretty low, and the Singing Sunflower does have that team damage with Sunlight. So we're just going to have to wait and see who comes out on top for this, because the Sunflower and the Moth both have really big health pools to eat through.
Would you say there are a lot of different healing abilities in pet battling in general, not just from the Singing Sunflower, but just from the different the minions you could choose to fight with in a pet battle? Are there a lot of different healing abilities that exist?
I would say, obviously, there's a ton more damage abilities than we have healing abilities. I think it's probably about maybe around a third of the damage abilities that we have. But it gets kind of weird because some of them have abilities that do damage and heal from the amount of damage you do. And then others are just straight heals. Some are team heals. Some are hots, like with photosynthesis, like we see with the Singing Sunflower. So it's just really going to depend. But yeah, I'd say probably about a third the amount of just straight damage abilities, we have some kind of heal ability.
And speaking of heal abilities, you'll notice that the Singing Sunflower is already up until right now. It's still healing, so it's at 93% health. And you know, we earlier I believe it was at 67% health. You know, its health, its HP just seems to kind of ping pong back and forth.
Yeah, and it's going to look even wilder because of the sunny day that's happening, because their health bars jump and then it looks like they're on low health, and then the sunny day gets dropped off or negated by the cold darkness so that it jumps back up, so it looks like they're at full health again. And then of course with photosynthesis getting that double heal, it's a lot of health to eat through for all of the pets that Tanixion has remaining here. And the Moth has been taken out, so it looks like Tanixion's bringing in the Umbral Amalgam and trying to get at least one hit out. But the Singing Sunflower, what you see come up above their head is recovering. That's because when you use abilities like Solar Beam, you do have a 2-round recovery period. So unfortunately, that healing ability is reduced by half because of Call Darkness. And unfortunately, I'm sure Tanixion was hoping for that big potential to crit there with Magic Sword, and it just didn't happen for them, unfortunately.
Looks like Tanixion is down to the Lost Quill, and we're still paddling that Singing Sunflower. I actually have a question for you, Dragons. And looks like the Singing Sunflower has gone down, but honestly, at this point, with 29% health with the Lost Quill versus the 75% health on Wox's side, I don't know if this would. Does it stand a chance against the Moth?
It's really going to depend on how they play their abilities. If Tanixion can get Wox below 50%, then maybe. But I'm not sure that we're going to see that here. Mostly because, we're down to 18 health. Tanixion brought up I believe it's Table of Discontent, perhaps. Let's see. Sorry, Deep Research. So that will give 2 blocks for the Lost Quill. So it's kind of the battle of the defenses, right? So we've got Deep Research, and unfortunately, the Lost Quill was not able to overcome the Teardrop Moth, and Wox won their second round. So we are now 2-1 with Wox in the lead.
I wanted to ask you earlier, I don't know how common this might be, but what would a fight look like if both both competitors had a singing sunflower on their team, how would that kind of fight play out?
That would be a very, very long fight, most likely. The biggest problem is usually the strategy you're going to see with singing sunflowers is you're going to see sunlight come up, they're going to use photosynthesis, and they're either going to attack or they're going to swap that sunflower to the backline to try and heal up. And if both teams are trying to play kind of that sunny day, you're probably not going to see anyone running Call Darkness to help hard counter the singing sunflower's healing ability. So it would take a really long time. So my longest battle was like it was 130 plus rounds. And
Wow.
the only reason I won is because at the end of each round, I had an ability called Surge, which is a aquatic ability, and I was doing something like 2 to 3 damage per round, but I was doing 2 to 3 damage more per round than they were. So I would have won eventually, but my stubbornness won out and I was able to win that one because they forfeit.
So a very, very long battle is what you're saying. Would you say it's etiquette for, especially in PvP battle, for players to not put themselves in that kind of situation where they both select a singing sunflower?
So, like generally in most PvP stuff, it's completely random. So you hit the find battle button in your pet battle UI, and you don't know what you're going to come across. So if both teams were running like a sunlight photosynthesis team, I'm not sure. I think it would really just come down to who wants the stubborn win more. But yeah, in the queue, unfortunately there's no etiquette in the queue, right? Like you're
Completely
good.
random.
Yeah, it's completely random, and then it's just like every other like avenue of PvP. You've got the people who, the people who are noble isn't the right word, or honorable's not the right word, because, all's fair in love and war, right? But you do have like probably the closest you get to like toxicity in pet battle PvP, because you can't chat with the other person, is people will name their pets really awful things. So that's probably about as close to like rude that you get in the pet battle PvP queue. But there's no real etiquette. It's just I'm going for the win, and if we're both running sunlight, maybe I'm more stubborn than you are, maybe you're more stubborn than me.
And I see that they are selecting their final pets. Walks, I believe, is selecting their third. And before we jump back into the pet battle action, I just want to highlight that we are giving away later on in just a little while another. We have another giveaway for the plushie that we had discussed earlier, in addition to a bonus prize, which will be a pet from I believe, the Blizzard the battle store, or the Blizzard store, that is. So we have 2 more giveaways going on later on during this broadcast. I also want to highlight one of the most impactful ways about the nonprofit organization that we are raising money for, by the way. So one of the most impactful ways that Pause Your Game is turning donations into what you might call real world hero moments. The next initiative that we want to talk about today it's called the PvE program, and in this case, yes, we when talking about World of Warcraft, PvE is normally player versus the environment, but in our case here, PvE stands for pledges versus euthanasia. And so when we're talking about the nonprofit organization, this PvE program is Pause Your Game's rapid response rescue system. And so when a shelter animal lands on the euthanasia list, they instantly deploy a $500 pledge to any approved rescue that's willing to pull that animal. And Josh actually spoke about this a little while ago when we were discussing how much money we had raised so far, which I'm gonna plug that in one more time. We have raised $850 out of the $1,000 donation goal that we have. And so Josh earlier spoke about how that would help this $500 pledge to pull that animal, and basically, my understanding is, place it in a rescue, right? So you're pulling it from that euthanasia list. It's like a real-time power-up. It's this fast, automatic, designed to save lives before it's too late. And so every donation fuels the next rescue, creating this chain of life-saving combos. And the more money that we raise, the more animals that we can pull from the kill list and put them into safety. I want to pass it off to Josh to talk a little bit more about that. I believe you had mentioned this $500 pledge earlier. And while we wait for Josh to come back, I actually just realized that the donation bar has been refreshed. It is at $870 out of $1,000 today. That is absolutely incredible. And as we're waiting, it looks like we're looking at a screen with both teams have their pets selected. They're finalizing that. But again, I just want to shout out all of the work that Valor Gaming and Pause Your Game is doing to help these animals. They are incredible. I'm sure you've seen that when we have our caster screen up. I'm sure you have seen Josh's background, the beautiful, adorable animals that he has. Animals like that. If any of you have pets at home, I'm going to pull at your heartstrings for just a second. You are helping to save them. It just, hearing Josh talk about all the work that he does, the animals that he has at home, it always makes me smile. And with that, it looks like we have started our next round. We are starting off with Tanixion's Buttercup and Wox's Rebellious Imp.
That's
Yes.
a cute pet.
Yeah, so Buttercup was not super well loved. Like, perhaps the lighting's making it look a little less, we'll go with silly here. But it is a pink moose. And it seems like we're doing, Tanixion has gone more for weather. So we've got Buttercup here with Call of Winter and Deep Freeze, hopefully trying to get that stun going on in the back line. And then Wox has opted for the Teardrop Moth once again, and Tanixion made the swap in on the Bone Serpent to eat any of the Teardrop Moth's hits here, since it was already almost dead. And then the Frostwolf Ghost Pup is also kind of on its last leg. And we are getting sort of an oh no red card here, because we did have the Bone Serpent with Call Darkness, and we do have the Karaji Guardling with Sandstorm, which I believe is not allowed. So perhaps it will just be limiting on Tanixion, where they will not be allowed to use their Sandstorm ability once it comes in, but that will be up to the person who ran all of this. Someone shouted red card in the chat. I guess this is as close as you get to a red card in Pet Battle PvP tournaments.
You mentioned that this moose was pink, and I didn't even realize that. It looks, obviously they're battling in Undermine, so you have the the metal, the browns, the reds, the fire, all of those effects kind of projecting onto that moose. I had said earlier that I often probably would choose my pet battle team based on their names. But when it comes to selecting my favorite pet battles, when you right click, you have your minion book open. I definitely do that by how cute they are. In addition,
absolutely, you would definitely not be the only one. Definitely seen some cute teams run in the queue, and Buttercup's one of those ones that it looks like it's you either really think it's cute or it's just not for you. I recall it coming out and people kind of dogging on Buttercup a little bit, right?
And I'm seeing some comments in the chat that says the community was split on the moose when it came out. I didn't realize that it was on the as a trading post reward. Is it one of those pets that was originally released and you had to get it a different way, and then they reintroduced it to the trading post, or has it only been offered through the trading post?
So it's only been offered through the trading post. When they say it was the reward, it means that it was like the capstone reward for the trading post. So once you completed your adventurer's log or traveler's log, Buttercup was the reward. And people people were very split on having a pet as the traveler's log reward, and they weren't too big of a fan of it, mostly because one, it looks kind of goofy, but two, people tend to get a little upset when pets are the reward for things like that, unfortunately.
And I do want to draw attention to the battle that we just saw. It looks like Wox won this last battle that just ended. They are getting ready for their next match. I'm
So
curious to see if Rhea is dismissed
uh,
again.
it looks like we're gonna call this match invalid because Tanixion was running that Sandstorm and Call Darkness, so they are going to do a rebattle. I imagine it looks like they are repicking teams as well. And so in that, the pet-draft.com, they are rechoosing. So I'm not sure if they are going to be rechoosing like completely or if they're running a new team or what's quite going on. We're waiting for word from our official flip method on that one. And as Celestius has put out the red square, red card on the flag, and it looks like we have been opted to rechoose the teams. So we will be making new teams here, and just want to remind our players that you cannot have both Sandstorm and Call Darkness on a single team.
And can you go into a little bit more about what Sandstorm is? We talked about Call Darkness, right, which kind of combats healing abilities that are placed out on the battlefield. But what exactly does Sandstorm do?
So Sandstorm also has that reduced hit chance. So you go from 100% hit chance down to 90% hit chance, or whatever hit chance your ability has. It is reduced by 10%. And the Sandstorm has the same thing, but instead of a reduction to healing, the other weather passive that we have is a damage reduction. So it takes a flat amount of damage from the ability. So if your ability hits for 250 and the Sandstorm reduces it by 50, you would only hit for 200. And that flat damage amount that Sandstorm reduces by is impacted by the pet's power level. So the higher the power level, the greater the flat damage amount reduction you're going to see from Sandstorm.
And how might that complicate things when you have a pet with Sandstorm alongside another pet that has Call Darkness? Or is it just the fact that both abilities are so powerful?
It's that both abilities are so powerful because you could run a team with both Sandstorm and Call Darkness, but with that hit chance reduction, they might both miss. You just never know. It's really just about making the matches more interesting because we are in a weather meta right now. The weather abilities inexplicably got a really big buff. We're not sure why they did it. They just buffed them. I think when they reworked some of the weather abilities and what they did, like their passives and everything. I think that's the patch that it came out with. But we're not really quite sure why they did it because the weather abilities were already pretty strong. And so it's just kind of made the queue a little stale. You're going to see people running a lot of Sandstorm teams, especially if they're coming up against Anomalous, which does a lot of team damage. And so you want that damage reduction from Sandstorm. And it's just to make the matches more interesting, perhaps not more fair, right? Because it does come with downsides to use these abilities, but just more interesting and more fun for everyone competing and everyone watching.
Looks like both teams have moved on to selecting their next pet team for the next round. The one that we are, I believe it's going to be a rematch is what we're calling it. And so we are waiting for both teams. I don't believe they've selected any just yet. We're waiting to hear back from both of them.
Yes, so Wox needs to select their first pet here, but we do see that the Teardrop Moth has been banned. So if one person bans a pet and the other person also has that pet, it gets banned for both of them if it hasn't already been selected by someone. So Teardrop Moth is out. Apparently, someone decided they are more trouble than they're worth. So no Teardrop Moth for us this time around. And Cobble Shell on both sides has been taken out. And we haven't seen that one today, but it seems like mostly we're running a lot of defensive abilities here. So that doesn't surprise me.
I wonder if, like you said, that they had just banned a pet that we have not seen today. I wonder if both of them are considering scenarios, based on the pets that they have chosen, or let's say one side has selected a pet. If they're wondering, all right, this is a scenario that could happen. If my opponent chooses this pet, this is something that could happen, or maybe multiple scenarios could happen. It kind of reminds me, I'm not a big chess player, but it kind of reminds me of that sense. And I'm learning more and more about pet battling in this game that you kind of have to think ahead. Do you think that, in this process, where these PvP pet battles are kind of planned ahead of time like this, not necessarily the RNG, queue into the PvP pet battle system you and I talked about earlier, but would you say that there is a little bit of planning that's involved when it comes to PvP pet battles against another player?
In this sense, absolutely. So it's kind of the, like you said, chess. You see the open foray in what one person has chosen for their first pet, and you're either, the way it can work is you're either building a counter team, so pets that are going to try to hard counter what you're seeing on the other person's team, or you're building something that has more to do with like a standalone decent team that you think could counter anything the other person's going to come up with. This is why I don't generally pet battle PvP, because it's very chess like. It's very psychological in the same way, where you are wondering, okay, are they going to use their big hit ability, or if they are they going to swap out when I'm trying to use mine? And so there's a lot of guesswork and wondering what's going on and trying to guess what the other person's going to do and making the best choice on what move you're going to use at that time.
And it looks like we have just received word that upon review, Tanixion did use 2 pets with restricted abilities, and as only 1 restricted ability is allowed, therefore they're production's going to keep the score as it is. So this past round that we just saw, the score, that win will go to Wox. So our current score is 3-1. So 3 wins to Wox and 1 to Tanixion so far. And I just want to remind our viewers that we are playing best out of 7. So it could be up to 7 games, but it sounds like, depending on who wins this next round, this could be it.
Yes, Tanixion has to pull out a win here to continue on, and I believe they need to win the, I think, I'm so bad at math. I think they need to win the last 3 matches here to be able to win. So Tanixion has to kind of come in clutch and really consider what pets they're going to run with this time around, because Wox just needs 1 more win and Tanixion has to win the next 3.
You say that Tanixion needs to win the next 3 rounds, and as you said that, this pink moose that we were just discussing started bouncing around all the screen, across the screen, dancing, and it was the perfect timing to the statement that you just said. It's adorable.
It's trying to cheer Tanixion, like, you can do it. It's yeah, so the idle animations, it has the, I believe, the fawn idle animation. So I believe most of the moose do that, where they'll do the hand or the hoof stand, I guess. They don't really have hands. So they'll do a hoof stand and they'll dance around, and a lot of the pets have really cute idle animations. Some of them are unique, some of them are shared across the entire pet type. Like, you'll have most of all the fawns have the same one, most of all the rabbits have the same ones, but some of them get pretty unique and really cute.
Looks like we are back at the, I was about to say back at the team screen as both teams are selecting their battle pets for the next round. And so far, Tanixion and Wox have both selected 2 pets for their teams. Over on Wox's side, we have the Rebellious Imp and the Lime Roboclucker. We saw this one, the Roboclucker, a few times in some of the earlier rounds. And over on Tanixion's side, we have the Bone Serpent and Spring Rabbit. I believe, I want to say this, the Bone Serpent is the one that has Call Darkness. And I wonder, we saw that before we saw the Singing Sunflower, and I'm going through some of the abilities that the Rebellious Imp has. Do you see any healing abilities? I'm just wondering why Tanixion might have chosen the Bone Serpent again, unless it's not because of Call of Darkness.
So the Rebellious Imp is a humanoid pet. So as part of their racial, they heal a percentage. I think it's 4%. It's some single digit percentage of their health at the end of each round if they do a hit. So think of it as kind of a lesser Singing Sunflower, where you can put on Immolation, which is an aura that sits on the pet, and you can move them to the back line, and that aura will do damage to the active pet as long as there's not any kind of dodge ability up. And when the aura hits, even from the back line, it means the Rebellious Imp will get a heal on the back line for that percentage of their health. So if you have one that you don't want to take too terribly many hits, or you can take a couple hits, get Immolation on, and you can use Portal to jump to the back line, or you can use the Force swap with Nethergate. It's really going to depend on what kind of team Wox is deciding to run with the Rebellious Imp.
And I also want to bring our attention back to our donation bar. Again, it looks like both teams have selected their pets. We're just waiting, the final moments before this possibly final battle begins. But I want to draw your attention back to the donation bar. It has just been updated to $895 out of $1,000. $1,000 is our goal. We are $105 off of our goal. And for those of you who are just joining us, I want to remind you that we are raising money for a nonprofit organization called Pause Your Game. Pause Your Game's mission is to save sheltered animals from unnecessary euthanasia by harnessing the collective power of the gaming community. So through innovative campaigns and partnerships, they basically turn gaming into a force for good, kind of like what you're about to see in this battle here, right? We are using pet battles to help raise awareness for what Pause Your Game does, which is to save animals from euthanasia. And with that, we are back in possibly the final round. It looks like the Bone Serpent maybe has gone first, or at least has a giant hit towards Rebellious Imp over on Wox's side.
Yeah, so the Bone Serpent used that Bone Barrage first, and since it was faster than the Rebellious Imp, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, let's see. Yeah, so that does strong damage against the humanoid. So that was Tanixion thinking that Wox was going to run that Rebellious Imp first. So they had the Bone Serpent. They're using that Bone Barrage to get as many good, strong hits as they can against the Rebellious Imp, so that even though it's going to heal on the back line, maybe they can help reduce, get their health low enough that even if they come back in, they haven't been able to do too much healing. And combining that with Call Darkness can definitely impact the healing of the Rebellious Imp. But
and
now
I do see that there's a bleed on the Bone Serpent, by the way.
Yes.
Does the Bone Serpent or anything on Tanixion's side have a heal to kind of help combat that? Because I think with 3 rounds left on that bleed, I know that we get that undead proc, right? It comes back. Is there anything to save it?
So there's no heals. Oh, wait, hold on. Graves might have Consume Corpse up. They might. So that could possibly work as a heal for them. But I think the Bone Serpent was there more to try and counter that Rebellious Imp. And having the Spring Rabbit on the team is kind of what's going to help counter that Rebellious Imp a little bit. Unfortunately, the Rebellious Imp is going to probably have Burn Up, which will do weak damage to critter pets because it's an elemental ability. But also Spring Rabbit does weak damage to the Rebellious Imp with its critter ability. So it's a bit of who's going to roll better for those abilities if that spring rabbit lives through
And this
the...
is close.
Yes, this one is a lot closer. And I'm wondering, yep. Oh, that was real. See, even though it did weak damage, it was able to take out the rabbit from the back line with that immolation aura. And now we got Graves, and that's probably Tanixion trying to do as much damage to the rebellious imp on the back line as possible, because it is an undead ability. And it does look like Tanixion's running Consume Corpse, which is a little, not super great. What it does is it consumes the corpses of their allies from the back line as a heal. So if Graves is last, it means they can have 2 heals if both of the other pets are dead. But
I
once
did
it...
see its health go up. I'm wondering if it consumed one of them.
Yes, so it will have one more heal, but Skull Toss rolled high for Tanixion, and Tanixion did get that win, but they still
Wow.
need 2 more to be able to come in and win the World Finals today. So we are 3-2 with Wox in the lead by 1.
I was a little worried during that last match, especially toward the end. Before that last undead, I think it must have consumed a corpse. I could be, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yes.
I did see it heal up at least once.
Yeah, so
And I
that
think
means
that
they
really
would have
helped
had
it.
one more heal if it had gone on that long. Clearly it didn't, but the only thing that saved them was their allies' sacrifice. So yes, it did use Consume Corpse.
And we
So
talked
I have
earlier about
Sorry, I have a question because I'm ignorant on all of this stuff. So there are PvE pets and PvP pets. Are there certain abilities that you can't use in PvP, but you can in PvE and vice versa? Or there's like specific ones, or how does
No,
that work?
so it's all coming from the same pet pool, so it all comes from your roster. It's just whatever pets you have. It's just there are certain strategies and abilities that are used more in PvE versus PvP. So I primarily stick to PvE strategies because I'm fighting basically the AI, right? Like I'm fighting NPCs in game. Most of them have teams that do the same abilities in the same order, and so you can strategize and work around that. And usually PvE is focused more on leveling strategies or taking out the team as quickly as possible. But for the most part, for PvP, you want pets that are faster, do bigger hits. You don't really want to do too terribly many investment abilities that are going to take you more than one round. Whereas in PvE, sometimes using the investment abilities is part of the strategy. So they're just 2 different approaches to how you are taking out the enemies.
Okay, thank you.
I love that you use the word investing, by the way, because what my mind went to pause your game in the sense that if you choose to adopt an animal, right, pause your game, the whole point is to save animals from euthanasia, right, and make sure that they either go into rescues or ultimately that those animals find a home with somebody. So I wanted to make that connection and throw that out there, that if you are here, if you are just joining us today, part of this tournament is raising money for Pause Your Game, which is a nonprofit organization. You can see the donation bar up at the top of the screen. And again, as we're coming down to the last couple games of today in the finals, we are currently sitting at $895 out of 1,000. We are so close to the ultimate donation goal that we have set. Very close. And actually, it has just been refreshed. This donation bar is now up to $915. I'm just saying we are $85 away from this ultimate goal, which is incredible.
Absolutely. This community has been absolutely wonderful, and a big thank you to everyone who has donated, who has been here supporting everyone, all of the finalists, and for supporting Pause Your Game. It's such a wonderful initiative, and I believe it's nonprofit is the correct, right? The correct term.
Yes.
Okay. All right, but it looks like we've got the Lime Roboclucker, and finally we get to see Cobble Shell come up. Cobble Shell was used a lot more, so interesting. We still have Wox, who only needs one more win. Maybe that'll be Cobble Shell for them.
Have we seen? I don't think we've seen Cobble Shell yet.
No, we haven't. So I think it's been banned a couple times, so that's why we haven't seen it pop up. And that is probably why Tanixion is choosing the Violent Pultrid to help counter the Cobble Shell. They're probably trying to make sure they can use that Bleed and that Maul, which gets the extra damage if the pet is bleeding.
So how do you determine what pet gets banned and what doesn't?
So that's what the players get to choose. So they get to choose which pets are banned, which ones aren't. And that's why the pick ban system is so wonderful this time around. It definitely makes the matchups interesting. And I think sometimes we see some pets selected because you expect the other person to try and ban them, especially if it's a pet that they've run into before and has given them trouble. So that's why having this pick ban system, which you can try out for yourself at, I believe, pet-draft.com, and you can play around with your friend and do the pick ban system and just have fun with it. And it's interesting because it was made specifically for this pet battle tournament. Like, not just this one because they do it seasonally. The seasons for the PvP Pet Battle Tournament are running concurrently with the World of Warcraft season. So we've already had season 1 and we are now in season 2. And it's been a lot of fun so far. As Celestius pointed out, the pick ban adds depth to the pre-match by having a decision-making component to how the ensuing battle may play out. That is a good point.
Looks like Wox has just selected their final pet for this. So we're going to begin again. I keep saying this, but possibly the final battle, the final match of this tournament. Tanixion must win this match in order to stay in the tournament and also win the final match out of the 7.
It is going to be interesting because, like I said, Tanixion has to pull win after win to get the best out of 7, and Wox just has to win that one more. So this is either going to bring us up even, and then we will have the 7th and final battle, or Wox is going to come in and get the win.
You know, sometimes this added pressure, not everybody, but some people I think perform really well under pressure, and especially when you know you're facing a situation like this where you know what, I have 3 games, or what was 3 games. You know, Tanixion came through with that win in the previous round that we just saw, and sometimes, myself included, sometimes when you are facing a situation where you know, all right, I have to win this in order to stay in the game. Sometimes you kind of fight through it and you keep going. But, you know, in this situation, knowing Wox just needs to win this final match to win, they also probably have the drive and, you know, that same passion, that same feeling to kind of get them through this game, just as Tanixion probably has that feeling where, hey, I need to win this in order to stay in it. So there is probably so much you know, passion from both sides going into these last couple of matches, especially the one that we're about to see.
Absolutely. And we're just waiting for Wox. Perhaps they stepped away it looks like they've moved their character. Wox is here, and we are getting ready to start this battle up. Hopefully we're not having any issues. We do have to play this on the PTR realm because we are playing EU versus NA, and unfortunately we don't have cross-region battles going on, so we have to play this on the PTR, which can come with a few little bugs. Maybe not the cute new roach models that we got in Undermine, but bugs nonetheless.
That's a great point. That's another reason, an additional reason that I wish we had cross-region play. You see it on beta, you see it on PTR. You often, I think, you see it for raid testing and Mythic Plus and things like that. But you know what? I'm gonna add pet battling to that list as well as another reason why we deserve to have cross-region gameplay. But with that say, with gameplay, it looks like this gameplay has started.
Yes, so what you're going to see here is at first the Violent Poultry was faster because it does have a higher base speed than the Fledgling Warden Owl, but whereas the Violent Poultry has that dot ability which slowly bleeds health away, quite literally since it's a bleed ability, the Fledgling Warden Owl does have those big hit abilities like Call Darkness, and that brought the Violent Poultry down below. And so Tanixion swapped over to that Lime Robo-Clucker, trying to maybe help counter the Fledgling Warden Owl, but unfortunately they did use the Nocturnal Strike, which always hits if Called Darkness is up. And then we have the Savage Talon, which could have hit, couldn't have hit, but it did manage it. However, the Lime Robo-Clucker managed to get faster than the Fledgling Warden Owl. And I believe Tanixion is hoping that all of these things hit here and maybe take out the Fledgling Warden Owl or get it as low as possible with laser, which is not impacted by that reduced hit chance because it's one of the few abilities we have that has a 200% hit chance. So it'll almost always hit even if there is a blind up.
So it looks like that Robo-Clucker is down.
It sure is. The Robo-Clucker has been another really good pet this season. It seems like Undermine has given us a couple of really good pets this time around. And we are seeing the Violent Poultry trying to take out that Rebellious Imp. Unfortunately, the bleed is on and the Violent Poultry is faster than Cobbleshell. I believe Maul will be taking out the Cobbleshell, but we have that tactical swap from Woxbc to eat that Maul on a pet that was already dying so that Tanixion can't take out that Cobbleshell.
And did I see a pet heal or was that a swap?
That was a swap. So what Woxbc did was baited Tanixion out trying to use the Maul on the Cobbleshell, but instead of it hitting the Cobbleshell, which would have killed it, it took out the they swapped the Rebellious Imp back in to eat that really big hit that would help countershell Cobble's very, very powerful Stone Form, I believe is what it's called. Yep, so Stone Form does a 3-round heal, and I believe the heals get bigger each round it's used, which is one of the reasons why Cobbleshell has been creating such a headache for people this time around, is its power, how much it can heal for, and I believe it is just going to come down to roles. Maybe Tanixion's going to use Consume Corpse. They do have 2 heals, but perhaps they are just going to try and... Oh, nope, there's the heal. And they're probably hoping they can stand up against both of the dots and take out the Cobbleshell before the Cobbleshell can take out Graves. Ooh, that was a really big hit. We still have 2 rounds, and those rock barrages did hit. So depending on how Skull Toss rolls here, and the Cobbleshell is out, and we are going into the 7th round. We are tied 3-3.
That was such a close match. The 2 dots that Tanixion's pet had toward the end there, that Graves had, those 2 dots were hitting very hard. I was very nervous. I see some nail biting going on in the chat. I'm not quite nail biting, but I have that feeling. I am trying not to bite my nails, but I am sitting here watching this, just basically on the edge of my seat, wondering, is this going to kill Graves? You might have noticed that at the end of that battle, Graves had not procced the undead. Would you call it a buff or an effect where if an undead pet dies, it will res and it will be able to, I believe, attack 1 more time. Is that correct?
Yep. So they have, it's called, I think it's officially called the Immortal round. We just generally call it the Undead round, which is kind of funny since it's already an undead pet. So, like, the undead round, I guess, is what you would call it. But the thing with undead pets is technically, if you're slower and you are killed that round the first time and you attack and kill the other pet, if you die the same round that you resurrect, you'll still get the win. But if you die at the end, like if both pets die on the same round as the end of the Immortal round, then it's technically a draw.
Now, as we're waiting for both teams to select their final pet teams for the final battle, the best of 7, we have made it to almost to this final game out of 7 in this tournament. We have 2 more giveaways that I would love to let our viewers know about. So one of the final giveaways that we have going on is for a plushie that we have, the one that you see here on screen. This has been very generously donated by Be Chaotic Goods. We talked about this one earlier. We talked about how it is so, not only is it just generous, right, to donate something, especially to something like this, but to have something that is handmade by somebody, right? Like this has been created by somebody, and they are now giving away for such an incredible cause for Pause Your Game. So this is the first giveaway that we have going on. We also have an additional giveaway, and the second name that is selected will win this one. It is a pet from the Blizzard store. So for this final round of giveaways that we have going on, again, if your name is selected first, you will win this plushie that you see on the screen right here from Be Chaotic Goods. And if your name is selected second, you will win a pet to use in-game in World of Warcraft from the Blizzard store. Very exciting. In order to enter this giveaway, type !ticket to purchase 1 ticket in the chat. You're not actually buying anything, but you are redeeming a ticket in chat by typing that. So make sure you type !ticket. And again, I just want to draw your attention as we're getting those tickets into the chat. I want to draw your attention back to the donation bar at the top of your screen. I mentioned earlier that we are now sitting at $915 that has been donated out of the $1,000 donation goal that we have here today. And we are so close to hitting that final goal. We are $85 off of that goal. If you choose to donate today, if you are able to, you are supporting Pause Your Game. It is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to basically to save animals from euthanasia. And we talked about this earlier. And I'm going to pass it off to Josh in a moment to explain what a $500 donation total means for Pause Your Game. Josh, can you go into a little bit more about that and remind viewers what that means for Pause Your Game?
Of course. So one of our initiatives is called the PvE program, which stands for Pledges versus Euthanasia. The PvE program is our rapid response rescue system. When a shelter animal lands on a euthanasia list, we instantly deploy $500 to whatever rescue is willing to pull that animal from that shelter. We do this because a lot of times shelters will ask for pledges online and they won't receive them. So we immediately fund that effort. It's basically like a real-time power-up. It's fast, it's automatic, and it's designed to save lives before it's too late. Every donation fuels the next rescue. So it's like a life-changing chain combo. The more we raise, the more animals that we can pull from the kill list and save. So yeah, this is our big initiative program where we really try and help animals out from being unnecessarily put to sleep. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for going over that. Like I said, it's incredible. $915 at 1,000. Very, very good. And it looks like our giveaways are coming to an end. Both winners have been selected in chat. And this is leading up right into our final game, by the way, which will be underway very, very soon.
I believe Tanixion is still waiting on Wox to say they are ready to begin the next round of the pick ban section, which is what that ready and not ready means on the screen. And so just to kind of go over while we wait for Wox to come back, we can go over a little bit like some of the pets that we see that got banned and kind of why they were selected versus other pets that have similar abilities. And one of those pets is Anomalous. I think if anyone has been in the queue recently, they know why Anomalous got banned. It is a bit pesky. It's got a lot of power at 362 power. It's got that magic ratio that limits how much damage you can hit them with each round. They can't do more than 30, or they can't receive more than 35% of their health as damage in a single hit. And then they have 2 team damage abilities, which can absolutely wreck the other team before they even get a chance to play.
Actually, both of these teams look pretty similar to the last round, the last match that we just saw. You see the Rebellious Imp again, we see the Cobble Shell, we see Graves is back. The Robo Clucker, which has made an appearance throughout this tournament today so far across, the 7 games. We've seen it quite a lot. And I now kind of see what you were talking about, how, it seems like, I don't know if it's per patch or, throughout, if it's based on every expansion, but it seems like the Robo Clucker is quite a popular pick.
Yes, it sure is. So the the Lime Robo Clucker came in the Undermine patch. So there's only one spot you can go get it. It's only got one spawn. So the fact that it has multiple breeds means that it can take a little while to farm for this particular pet. And just to remind everyone, the world champion of this match today will receive a one-of-a-kind custom-made trophy themed after the current World of Warcraft War Within season. So speaking of Undermine, Seasons 2 trophy features the G99 Breakneck in Undermine with a mechanical gorilla and dino pet. So I know one of them is the Crimson Mechasaur that's flying in, attacking that might be Rocket Fist. I think Rocket Fist is the green one. And then all competitors will receive an exclusive custom-made enamel pin, and it will feature this season's artwork for the tournament. So we've got another one, I believe that's the Wavebreaker Mechasaur. I'm not sure what the purple gorilla is named, but what's more is that these pins cannot be obtained any other way, so only the competitors will receive this pin.
These are some awesome rewards, and I also want to talk about some of the support that this tournament is receiving. And one of the support that we see today is from Raider.io. They have been very, very generous in allowing us to have this tournament on their home screen. So we are currently on the homepage of Raider.io, who is also home to many, many WoW community events as well. So thank you so much for that support. We're very, very grateful that you are sharing this tournament with the WoW community on their homepage.
Absolutely. Big thank you to them. I didn't know we were on the homepage, so that's a surprise to me. Surprise.
And
then,
with that, yeah.
sorry, go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
No, it looks like we're any moment now. I think we're heading into this final battle. We have a few moments before it begins, though.
And we are still waiting for walks, I believe. So the teams that you see up on the screen for the team matchup, that was the previous round's team. So we are still waiting for walks to indicate that they are ready to begin the next round of picking and banning. So I'm not sure if they were told that they could have a break because we were doing the giveaway, which congratulations to Zachary's and Silverhawk on your wins. I hope you really enjoy your prizes, your in-game pet. And so while we're waiting for Walks to come back, why don't we go ahead and take another look at those player cards again for Tanixion and Walks. Surprisingly for Tanixion, it said their most used pet is Jingles, and I think we've only seen it once out of the 7 matches, which is surprising. Jingles is usually actually pretty prominent, and again, we've only seen the Cobble Shell used once from Woxbc, so that was quite a twist, quite a turn of events for both of them. We've only seen their favorites once each. And then the Nemesis pets, I don't think Walk selected the Stormborn Whelpling at all. And I don't know that we have any Dragonkin pet on either side, actually. It doesn't look like we have any Dragonkin. So the Dragonkin, we have left Dragonflight, and it's like, you know what? I guess we're done with the Dragonkin. No Dragonkin today. And then the Violent Poultrid, we have seen a little bit. And considering it's the nemesis pet of Wox, I think Wox played that masterfully against the Violent Poultrid when they chose their Cobble Shell. But it looks like Wox has come back, so we can begin that pick and ban for our competitors once more. So we're waiting for Wox to ban 2 pets, and then I believe after that they will begin selecting their pets. So we'll see those teams populate here in a minute. And a reminder to everyone, this is best of 7, and we have gone to the 7th match. We are currently 3-3 for both of our competitors. It has come down to the line.
And I talked a little bit about the pressure that, I'm sure Tanixion was feeling earlier, knowing that they had to win the final 3 battles. Winning that third to last battle in order to move to the next one, in order to move to the battle we're about to see. And so the fact that we're here is incredible. I think oftentimes when you hear, of tournaments when one competitor needs to win X amount of games, that's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And I mean, we're finally here. It is the final game. It is best out of 7. But now both players are going to, really possibly feeling that pressure, or at least the importance, the significance of this final game, where whoever wins this final match is ultimately the winner of the finals.
Yes, absolutely. And it looks like Wox has chosen that rebellious imp again. Apparently it's been working for them, or not working for them, perhaps. I think they've had it the last 2 times against Tanixion, so we're going to have to see. Maybe they're going to play it a little differently this time around. And we are waiting for, and it looks like Tanixion has chosen the Cobble Shell, so that is Tanixion using Wox's most used pet against them. So we're going to see how that goes for Tanixion this time around. It's either a nod to Wox or a challenge, perhaps both.
Something else I noticed, and it doesn't have to do with the pets that they have selected, but something I noticed in general on this screen throughout some of the matches we've seen, I have noticed on more than one occasion, the Blossoming Ancient has been banned. Is there a reason why? Is that a pet that a lot of players tend to ban? Is there a reason why?
So unlike the Singing Sunflower, while it does have the sunlight and photosynthesis, it also has that damage reduction and attack ability with Iron Bark. So basically, you get to do damage to the other team, but then Iron Bark comes up and it reduces damage from the other team. You only get to see the base damage when you hover over it. So right now it says 15 damage, but it reduces up to 5 damage from each attack. But that's definitely not the value for it at level 25. So when you're running against a sunlight team and you're running a lot of dots like Tanixion was doing earlier with the Bone Serpent, having Iron Bark up from Brute would absolutely, it would kill any kind of dot team because it would mitigate most of that dot damage while still getting the heal from photosynthesis and the extra heal because sunlight's up.
Oh, very interesting. I know that that is one of my favorite pets, but honestly, just because it's adorable. It's a lot like the mount that we got. I want to say that was in, I believe it was Shadowlands. I think when the community voted for, I want to say we had 4 different mounts to choose from, and Blizzard had said, hey, here's a spell book, which, they ultimately added as a reward for the Legion Mage Tower that they had brought back, and then they had, what was it? They had it's basically the Blossoming Ancient as a mount, and you get to ride this tree. So that's what it always reminds me of, is this tree that won during, like I said, I believe it was the Shadowlands expansion. So sometimes I find myself riding around on that tree mount with the Blossoming Ancient kind of trailing behind me.
Yeah, they're really cute. Just like the mount, their leaves do change with the seasons. So right now we would have just switched over from its spring foliage into its summer foliage, and then it'll change again in fall and winter.
It's interesting. Speaking of battles, or sorry, minions that pets that you can use in pet battles. We have this one here, right? The Blossoming Ancient. It looks a lot like the mount that we can use that's in the game. I wonder if that's something that Blizzard would explore more. Is would they have similar models for these pets that you can use as mounts? Because I'm thinking about that arcane, this mage spell book that you can ride around on as a mount. I wonder what that would look like, or what kind of abilities we would see if that was a pet you could use in a pet battle.
So we actually do have quite a few spellbook pets. Usually for them, you're going to see, you see magic abilities, obviously, because they're magic pets. So you'll see stuff like Arcane Blast. You'll see Drain Power from them. I can't recall the full ability set list. Most of them have kind of the same abilities. I believe we got 1 or 2 in Dragonflight, and those have been our newest spellbook pets. But we actually have quite a lot of pets that match up with mounts. And I don't have the website name with me right now. I might be warcraftmounts.com. But I believe they have a section that, or on each mount page, they will have if there is a pet that matches the mount, they will have that matching pet there. So for people who like to do that, who like to collect a mount and then have a pet to match it, they can go and collect that pet if they don't already have it to match up with their mount.
Something else that came to mind actually is, and maybe it's because I have, my mind went to mobile games for a moment. And all right, so bear with me while I kind of explain my train of thought here. You see games like Pokemon Go, things like that. I wonder if Blizzard would ever, I'm just putting this out in the universe, right? This is not a blue post. This is nothing like that. It's not confirmed. I wonder if Blizzard would ever consider having the pet battle system that they have, but offer it in, this on-the-go version, whether it's mobile or some kind of handheld device, so that you don't have to play in the game. Do you think that might be something that would be popular amongst players who often engage in pet battling?
Oh, it would have been incredibly popular. I think it would have brought a lot more people into pet battles to be able to kind of have their roster available on their phone. Do something kind of like what we see with the pick ban system, have that up, and then have something to where you don't even need the full animations. You could just have their icons fighting each other. Um, I know the community has been asking for a pet battle mobile app for a really long time, but with the game Warcraft Rumble going into kind of maintenance mode, I'm worried that it's something that we might not ever see explored by Blizzard just because they've got to look at things that'll bring players in or make them money, and I don't know if they think that pet battles would have that draw. But it does look like we have finalized our teams. On Tanixion, we have Cobbleshell, Sir Shady Murgleton Jr., the helpful Glimmerfly, and Woxbc's team of Rebellious Imp, Trumps, and the Umbral Amalgam for the final and seventh match to determine our World Finals champion today.
And here it is, the beginning of the battle.
Yep. 3-3, and let's see what our players decide to bring out first. All right, it looks like we've got Sir Shady, Murgleton Jr., and the Rebellious Imp. So we do see that the Rebellious Imp is using that Immolate ability and jumping back to the back line to heal. And that's to eat some of the bigger hit abilities from the pet you're facing and then going back and healing on the back line. And so here we have the Sir Shady Murgleton Jr. versus the Umbral Amalgam. And unfortunately, Tanixion did get that miss because of Call Darkness, but they are trying to come back from that, maybe hoping the Umbral Amalgam would miss. And we are hitting that cap on the magic racial there, so they can't be dealt more than 35% of their health. And unfortunately for Walks, Sir Shady is faster, and the Soul Rush missed because of that 10% reduction in hit chance, and Walks was able to take out Sir Shady with Magic Sword. And now we've got Cobbleshell in, trying to use the Rock Barrage while we wait for... Oh, and Walks decided to do a swap. Maybe they're hoping Trunks will help take out the Cobbleshell with Headbutt or Smash, because Smash has been chosen, and that will do strong damage to the Cobbleshell. And now it's up to the helpful Glimmerfly to try and take out Trunks. And we will see, because Trunks probably has... Oh, it looks like we've got Avalanche, but that is going to do weak damage to our Cobbleshell on the back line, and it's not going to hit the helpful Glimmerfly because it's dodged. And now we've got the Glimmerfly versus the Imp, and as you can tell, this one's moving a little faster than the other battles. We don't have these guys taking very long to try and consider what they're going to use. I think they are both just kind of chomping at the bit, looking to get this win. It's going fast this time.
This is nail biting as well. I'm just watching the health bars, and they're not even ping-ponging really. They're slowly creeping down.
Yeah, so while it looks like Tanixion has two pets that are slightly more health than the other one, Walks does still have all three of their pets. And yep, we've got the Smash. So Walks still hasn't used that middle ability, so we don't know if they have Moonfire or if they have Ethereal. So it might be that Trunks is waiting for that dodge to fall off of the helpful Glimmerfly. Oh, and they swapped in that Umbral Amalgam, which has died from the Arcane Blast. And probably that blind. It is only a 50% blind, and it looks like they do have Moonlight. Oh, but that 50% coin flip did result in a miss. So now Tanixion has the chance to slowly take down Trunks. We do have that. Oh, and it looks like it missed. So it looks like Avalanche missed the helpful Glimmerfly, does weak damage to the Cobbleshell on the backline, and this is it for Trunks. We are down to the Rebellious Imp. The helpful Glimmerfly is still faster, and oh, the Rebellious Imp took out the helpful Glimmerfly, so now it is down to Cobbleshell and the Rebellious Imp. Unfortunately, it looks like the Rebellious Imp has all weak damage attacks. And so we are waiting to see if Rock Barrage hits, and that is it. Tanixion wins the 7th and final battle to become the world champion for the 2nd season in a row. Big congrats to Tanixion. Ooh, that one went really quick.
Oh yeah, that might have been the first match we had was quick. This one I want to say was right up there with that first one.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I was just having to talk constantly there, showing this and that and everything. There was no stopping them. And EU wins the world championship. Yeah, that one was, it really was incredible. They were going so fast, no downtime at all. So congratulations to our winner, Tanixion. Big grats. Of course, I was hoping NA would win, being from NA, but masterful show, won all 3 of those matches that they absolutely had to win there, took it to the 7th, and pulled out the win at the last match. And I just want to say thank you to all of our competitors in Season 2 of the Pet Battle PvP tournament, soon to be renamed the Pet Masters League.
Great job from both of them. I mean, in my mind, I kept going back and forth, who's going to win, who is it going to be? Because again, when you get down to the final 3 battles and, you're facing this situation where one person has to get through all 3 of those, I mean, you have, again, there's that drive that's there. You want to win. But then you have your opponent who's saying, you know what, I just have 1 game to win. And honestly, in those kind of situations, it could go either way. I mean, this was incredible to watch. So don't forget, every competitor in this tournament also walks away with a limited edition enamel pin, which is very exciting. It is beautiful. It has been custom made to go along with the season's theme. You can't buy one. You can't trade one. You have to earn it in battle.
And today's stream was proudly in support of PawsYourGame. If you haven't already, hit !PYG command in chat and consider donating to help real-world pets find forever homes.
Thank you so much to our community, our players, and our supporters, and a huge thanks to Valor Gaming, Starship EU, warcraftpets.com, Icy Veins, Raider.io, Zufu's Pet Guides, and everyone behind the scenes who makes this tournament happen. As I mentioned earlier, the Pet Battle PvP tournament will be renamed and rebranded to the Pet Masters League.
And we also want to offer a special thanks again to Valor for providing creative direction, event planning, and community support. Valor's involvement with this tournament reflects their commitment to fostering meaningful content, competitive excellence, and uplifting causes like Pause Your Game.
Until next time, thank you for supporting the players, and of course, thank you for supporting the pets.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next season of the Pet Masters League.
Take care and be sure to support your local shelters.
Bye. Happy battling.
Bye.
Who took the bomb? See you later.